How's it going, PhonLab? It's Root Junkie here, and in today's video we're going to be continuing on in our batch script creation files and talking specifically about menus, how to utilize menu systems, and other things as well. We've kind of covered up here these different parameters you can set up top to get the scripts going, but we really haven't really covered too much about menus. So that's what I want to do here in this video. Not just menus, but also how to call menus and how to use the go-to functionality in your scripts. Okay, this is very helpful when you're building a utility with multiple things. If you're building just a single batch script, there's no reason to really utilize them if it's doing one single task. But if you're building some kind of a tool, very helpful. Okay, so as you can see here, the very first thing that gets called is this menu, right? I mean, batch scripts run from the top of the script down, right? So you set all your parameters, and then you have this menu, and then it calls the header. Okay, so it does a call to this. Now, that being said, when you call something, there is a difference between calling it and, like I said, using a go-to command, which is this. All right. And you can see a really good outline of that below this video of the difference between them. Basically, if you call something, you have to end it, and if you don't end it, it will just clog up your memory. Okay, that's the main thing. And if you call something, once that is done, it'll go back to the position of where it was called from. That's the other thing to kind of point about it. Now, the way this works, you can see these are just comments about what's going on. You can see that. And then this right here is a command that is kind of universal, and I generally copy it from another script. And what it does is it goes in here and uses find string exe, which is in Windows, it's defaultly in there, and it looks for anything that's menu in this batch script, right? And it puts those out, and then you can actually set choices here and use this right here to display the choices and to call all of the menu choices, anything that begins with menu. Okay, now you can see that what we have that begins with menu is here, right? There's one. I'll mark it. This does not begin with menu, so we're not going to call that when we do a menu search. That one doesn't either. That one doesn't either. This one does. So it's going to call that. It's going to call that. Not the header, and it's not going to call the print status. So it's going to display those three different menus and then show what's written after the menus. It's pretty cool, actually. Pretty cool, easy to use. That's what is taking place with this line of code right here. Except for the fact that it's also doing this print status, which basically does this, right? So if we're calling something, it's calling one of these two dots with the name and in red. So it's going to call that. And then you can see that what we can do if we want, once it finishes calling that, which this is what it calls, it's just going to go to end of file, okay? Which basically means end this and then continue back all the way up to start doing these things. Okay, so that being said, we can completely remove this call by doing this, because it's exactly the same thing. I'm going to show you. All right, see it? That is the exact same thing as doing that call. It's the same thing. It's literally the exact same thing. It's just a way that you can call something to this position in your script. Okay, it's pretty cool, actually. So at this point, literally, you could delete this code, and the script would look exactly the same when you run it. It's doing the same thing. Okay, so this is, like I said, this right here, and this even right here are things I would definitely just cut and paste over into another script, so you don't have to memorize how that functions. You just need to know that's the code to use. All right. Now, that being said, when you call this menu right here, ADB test, driver test, you can see that what I'm doing is I'm actually calling another menu option. And the only difference between this menu option and the one above it is very simple. And that difference is right here. Okay? See it there, and actually there, it highlights it. That's, again, one of the nice things about using Notepad++. Okay? That's the only two differences. is that now we're looking for things within our batch script that contain driver underscore. And what contains driver underscore but right here and right here. So it's going to list those two options in the next menu, which is ADB driver install or ADB driver test. And actually, a third choice, driver underscore 3, which is back. Now, you can see what this is doing. This is saying go to menu loop. So back, it would just bring you back to menu loop up here, which would then start this process over again. And it's a great way of doing it, okay? So you just got to understand that the go to will call, will end whatever's taking place and call wherever it's calling to go, whereas the call header will roll down here, run the header, and then if you use this command, this ends that call and comes back to here and keeps continuing on in the script. So basically the difference is, you'll see, like I said, in the description below this, I think it'll be helpful to see, but that's basically how you're doing it to call menus. I mean, there's other ways of doing a menuing system, and maybe we'll cover that in a later date, but this is just an easy way to set it up and to utilize it with literally changing this right here and this right here for any submenus or other menu structures you want to put into your tool. So it's pretty easy to use. It is very important that you make sure that you use the go to in the right context and the call in the right context. You can technically use them out of context, but like you can, instead of using call up here, we could use go to. All right. But the problem with that is then once we run this right here and we say go to header, it's going to go through all this process, but it won't revert back to continuing on in this script. So it's really important that we do the call so that it comes back to the right location. So just be aware of that. It is pretty cool. So let's actually run this script and I can kind of show you some of how it's functioning. So we'll go ahead and actually let me save it first so we make sure we've got that correct. Save, and then we'll run it. And you can see it's just a standard basic script. It does show you that I have a device connected, which is cool. I actually do right now. And it'll go into the first menu. Okay. And the next menu, like we said, we're going to do ADB drivers. So we'll hit 1 and hit enter. And then this launches the next menu system, right? Which is the driver underscore menu system. And you can see it and you can pick those options. Or you can go back. So we're going to say back, which is 3. And then it goes to the main loop and runs the rest of the script all over again. So that's the process. Menu systems are super powerful and highly recommend using them. Pretty easy to use. Again, there's other ones. You can Google search on the internet. Maybe I'll give you some links to some other cool menu system examples. But like I said, probably the best thing to do when you're learning batch scripts is to just go ahead and copy somebody's code, delete, like if this is the menu system you wanted to utilize, I'd come in here and I'd go like this. You can leave the colors, delete that, put whatever you want in, and leave the rest of it. It's pretty much that simple, because now you can put in whatever you want under that menu header and that call menu 1 and make it however you want it to be, and then boom, you're good. You've just utilized somebody else's script and you've saved yourself a ton of time coding and figuring out all of this random information that really isn't necessarily needed to understand fully. You just need to know it works. Let's put it that way. There are other options, and I'll probably show you some of those, or at least link you to them, because I think there are some pretty cool other menu options and ones that are actually a little bit easier. Instead of using the find string right here, there's other ways of doing the same thing, more or less. So this is just one implementation of a way to call and search for menu headings. So, and they don't have to be called like menu 1, 2, 3. It's not necessary to do that. Like I said, I've got driver 1. You can call this whatever you want. So it really doesn't matter what you call this right here. It could be called menu. It could be called 5. I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be called sub. It could be called, whatever makes sense for your script, so you understand your script. You just got to make sure that whatever you do name each of these little sections, you also make sure that it's going to call and look for those exact naming structure, right? So don't think that just because it's called menu, oh, it has to be called menu. It's not critical at all. And you'll see that as you go through a lot of this stuff. The other thing to note is if you think that maybe something in a piece of code should have a space in it, it should maybe be spaced out. So for example, let me actually show you. So like here, right? You have these two arrows. You have a log file, which we'll get into in the next lesson, and you've got a space between these things, right? If you're at all thinking like you could go like this, is that going to work? It might not, but you go like this or even double space it, it definitely will, because this thing's read, just like you read a book from top down and from left to right, okay? And the spacing, extra spacing between different things, like you could probably code it just like that and it'd be fine, but you can also do like this. An extra space isn't going to kill it. So if you're worried about like the structure of your code, generally an extra space in something isn't actually going to hurt the script from running or give you errors. So just kind of another thing to note as you're going through this. So you'll kind of get it as you go. You'll start to understand it more, but just I think a good thing to kind of note. But guys, that's going to wrap it up here for me on menu structures, or at least how I've implemented these menu structures with the fine string exe that's built into Windows to actually search for them and then to actually display and call them with some choices so that you can actually utilize the menu system. Hope you guys liked the video. Stay tuned for our next one, which will be error logging, and we'll catch you in that one. Root Junkie out.